This is 10 bands that I listened to the most in the 1960s. And I was a teenager through pretty well all of the 60s. I turned 19 the last month of 1969, so all intent and purposes, I was a teenager throughout the 60s. And you couldn't go through the 60s without listening to the Beatles, and this is something new. It just came, no, it didn't just come out, of course not. This is not my favorite band, but I mean, I had to listen to the Beatles in the 60s right from the very beginning. Next up, the Byrds, and I'm a huge fan of the Byrds. Saw them in, I think it was 1970. They were kind of, it was just Roger McGuinn left, but still great to see. And I wore out all my original albums of the Byrds. Next up, Airplane, saw them in 1970, and one of my favorites, top 5 favorite band, and can still listen to them at any time, any place, anywhere. Also, The Doors. This is live. It came out probably in 1970, but this picture is definitely not 1970s. This is The Doors live, and anything live by The Doors I love. Anything by The Doors I love. I don't think they put out one bad song in 6 albums. And every band here has to have at least 3 albums out. So I made a little stipulation because there's some bands that I listen to a lot that only had 1 or 2 albums out. Buffalo Springfield had 3 albums out, and this is their 2nd album, and this is where they peaked. But I listened to all 3 quite a bit, and the first one was just like, oh, this is something totally different at the time. Procol Harum, saw them too in '69. One of my favorites for sure. I mean, right up until, well, there's a couple albums at the end there that aren't so good, but everything about first 7 are all great, and this one, of course, is. This is Salty Dog. And you couldn't go to a party in the late 60s without listening to the Moody Blues, and 7 albums by the Moody Blues. Well, I think 8 or 9 actually, but The Seventh Sojourn was the last classic, and there's some good songs on the other ones, but couldn't go to a party without the Moody Blues, and a few puffs along the way. And right from the beginning was with the Rolling Stones, and this is 3D. It's not really 3D. You look at it and it's neat. It's certainly not 3D. And I really like this album. A lot of people discard it, but there's so many great songs on here. On with the show at the end. Another one of those ones that could have found something else to put on there to really make this a great album. But Rolling Stones, I don't think they put out a bad album. Grateful Dead, I was with them from the very beginning. And this is Anthem of the Sun, and this is kind of their psychedelic period for sure. I mean, this is when they were in the studio just turning knobs and oh wow, we're like kids in a candy shop kind of thing. And last but not least is Cream, Disraeli Gears. Definitely top tier album for me. This is Wheels of Fire. This has got one live album which kind of goes on and on and on, repetitious, but their actually studio stuff is great, and there was some sort of odd stuff. I mean, Jack Bruce wrote some odd kind of songs, and I really liked his stuff. So that's 10 bands. No solo here. I mean, Dylan, of course, lots of other people I could include here, but these are just bands. So 10 bands, 10 bands from the 60s that I listened to the most.